What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you. Kind of a bonus one. So we were looking for something else to review as like kind of a extra review for this week. And it was kind of a battle between bands with weird names. Now, initially, we were going to go over the latest offering from Austrian Death Machine. But I figured I could probably make enough Timlin bassist jokes when, as they lay plotting your murder, dying, comes out with a new album. So I'm going to save it for that. The other band with a really strange name that was on the docket was Sleepytime Gorilla Museum. And that is exactly what we went with because we knew not only was the name strange, but the music is unbelievably strange.
Yeah, some of, bar none, I think the weirdest music out there. And I realize that's a bold statement, but
trust us. So we are going to go over their latest album and first one since reforming in 2023, Of the Last Human Being. This comes out on the 23rd of February on Avant Night Records. I think it's actually self-released. This band actually crowdfunded this album and a lot of people responded because a lot of people were missing their strange brand of music. And yeah, we're going to get into that. Anyway, this band formed in Oakland, California in 1999. This is only their fourth album. I got into them with their debut album, Grand Opening and Closing. A buddy of mine at a record shop played me their song 1997, and I was like, what is this? And he was like, I don't know. But check it out. And I ended up liking the song. And yeah.
I got introduced to this band in 2004 on the record of Natural History. A buddy of mine showed it to me, and he said, what do you think of this? And I said,
Fair.
Yeah. Yep, there's no real way to grasp a hold of what this is. It just is.
That is, yes, decidedly accurate. So for those that don't know about this band, they are an avant-garde troupe of multi-instrumentalists, and they play some of the most bonkers music out there, like so crazy it would make Mr. Bungle go, bruh.
Right.
What are you doing? This band frequently uses not only traditional instruments, but non-traditional instruments, like stuff they made. We were looking around at all the weird instruments they played in terms of just ones that are like, traditional instruments, kind of. I mean, they exist. They were made by people years ago, and they play music. And the nickel harpa and the Stroh violin, just looking up pictures of this, that looks like the product of awkward musical instrument sex. Like, this is like weird breeding. But looking further into what all they play, you just run into things that I assume are musical instruments, or somehow they turned into them. A couple of the members in here just have weird stuff listed. One of them plays the roach. There is a gentleman that plays the thing. Yeah. There is a pedal action wiggler, possibly on this album, definitely on other ones. The sledgehammer dulcimer / slide piano log. That has me fascinated. And of course, the lever action lever.
Duh.
Yeah. Seriously. I'm pretty sure I played that in grade school, along with the woodblock.
The woodblock I know I played. I don't even remember what you said as far as with, the lever action lever. I've opened a door.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, going into this, we already had previous experience with this band, and we already know how strange they are. It doesn't mean they still can't weird us out, even though we were semi-prepared for this, because, once again, this band sounds kind of like no one else, but also a blend of semi-familiar things.
Yeah.
The opening track, Salamander in the Two Worlds, it's definitely a story. They say salamander a lot. I'm not sure what it's about, because I didn't follow the lyrics, because I don't know. I think I would probably leave this more confused if I did. But you get flutes and xylophones,
whistles,
and then these vocals come in, which, the two vocal members on here, Nils and Carla, combine for a lot of cool vocal harmonies. And together, they kind of sound like David Bowie a little bit. But it's like David Bowie fronting King Crimson on a mescaline binge. And as the song goes on, it gets progressively stranger, and you almost kind of get a vibe for this band, but never mind that. Like, you'll listen to this entire thing and still go, huh?
Yeah.
But, like, you get this sense of they just don't like straightforward music. In fact, like, there are moments where it is a little bit more straightforward, but it still isn't because of their knack for peppering in strange atmosphere, strange chordal patterns, off-time rhythms. Like,
tons.
Polyrhythms on here are nuts.
And believe it or not, through all this insanity, and that doesn't even really scrape the surface. Like, I could tell you insanity and you'd go, I've heard music like this before.
No, you haven't.
You haven't. If you haven't heard this band, you don't know. You don't know what to compare it to.
Yeah, if it didn't say Sleepytime Gorilla Museum on the album cover, or at least it was implied on the spine, then you don't know. Like, this is kind of like some next level weirdness.
One of my favorite songs, though, and believe me, I have more than one. There's 13 songs on this record, first of all, and I have more than one favorite song. One of my favorites, I think one of both of our favorites, is the song El Evil. Heavy, dark strings. First of all, I just gotta say, the string work on here, violins, bass, cello, whatever is going on, are amazing.
I believe that's mostly Carla. But
oh my god.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyway, one of the tightest drum grooves out there. And it's not intricate, it's super funky. But then, when the vocals come in, it sounds like that scene in Willy Wonka where they're on the ferry boat and they're watching all the crazy shit on the walls, and like the chicken pops out and the snake and the way Willy Wonka sings, like ra da 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 ra, like that. Like, it's nuts.
The vocal dynamics are actually quite impressive. Like, there's lots of strange harmonies. You have, like, rhythmic chants, odd refrains of very odd lyrics, and actually some really amazing singing. When it comes down to, like, avant-garde music, I'm kind of hit or miss. Like, sometimes it just comes across as, like, pretentious, nonsensical weirdness. And there's definitely a little bit of that here. But this is very musical, like hyper musical. Like, this band is insanely talented across the board. Every single member here is a multi-instrumentalist. And again, there's a lot of weird instruments that they created, which just adds to the strangeness of this band. But they play like a lot of real instruments too, like classic ones. And they're capable of generating a lot of interesting, unique melodies with this stuff. Songs like Hush Hush and Silverfish are dark, haunting, very atmospheric. Silverfish kind of leans on a lot of, like, what sounds like wind chimes.
Yeah.
And booming synths. It's very spacey, very atmospheric. The great haunting vocals on it. Carla has this very breathy delivery that it's kind of hypnotic and soothing, but also unsettling.
Vocally, it's kind of like a mixture between Bjork and Beth Gibbons from Portishead. But the song Silverfish versus Hush Hush, Silverfish is more like a creepy lullaby. Like it's very whimsical. There's a lot of like bells and like wind at times.
Lullaby-ish, like if David Lynch put a lullaby in a David Lynch movie and it was weird.
Like, yeah. It could have been in Blue Velvet.
Could have been in Blue Velvet.
Easily.
Could have been in Twin Peaks, especially anything that involved the weird extra-dimensional room with the... I don't even know what the hell that is.
And Hush Hush 2 is kind of the same thing, but it is super funky.
Yeah, it has a really cool long build to it. Again, those haunting vocals, like, it's very breathy and again, like kind of quivering too. Adds to the already weird atmosphere in here. But yeah, you get down to this kind of funky rhythm. Like, it kind of gets trip-hoppy. Honestly, it started reminding me of Talking Heads, mainly because the bass line was awesome. And again, the lyrics and the vocal meter, it's very David Byrne, but also, again, that bass line, very Tina Weymouth. And it just, I don't know, becomes like oddly catchy. These songs are generally not standard catchy. Like, you don't hear a lot of the same kind of chords and, like progressions. Like, you're not going to hear like a 4-chord, like kind of like your standard rock hook on here.
Yeah. There's not going to be your standard hook really at all.
Standard nothing.
There is a little bit of a hook in the song Old Grey Heron. It's kind of got a Toolish riff in it.
It's oddly one of the most straightforward songs on it. It's one of the longer songs. Like, I believe it's over 7 minutes, but it's a steady build.
Yep.
And it doesn't kind of get off the rails in terms of, the song structure. It's not super polyrhythmic. It has very interesting robotic vocals, but the song keeps kind of shifting around. And there's some like more traditional riffs on there. And I mean, guitar is among the instruments they play. So, riffs are still kind of what I look for, but, with this band, I look for just creative song structure, and that's all over here. But this one, again, it's paced differently. It's kind of a slow build, like it kind of revs up to the end, and it generates some really solid melodies. And when it comes down to heaviness on here, I mean, this band appeals to metalheads.
Yes.
I know it does, but I would not call this band a metal band. Like, it does have its more metallic moments, The Gift, El Evil, Burn Into Light, and there's even some heavier moments towards the end of Hush Hush, but at no point does it feel like metal heavy, mainly because, again, they're playing odd instruments and sort of layering them. Like, there are these big booming bass sounds that we don't know what they did to make those noises. And even some like intense punky sections where they're doing like tight snare rolls and kind of stomping along. Like the song SPQR, I don't know what that stands for, but I also don't know what they're playing on that entire song.
It actually sounds like they're playing a bass and running a pitch shifter through it. Like you remember the pitch shifters on the keyboards?
Yeah.
Like wah, wah, wah. It's really weird.
It could be. I mean, we're not ruling out any instruments with this band. Like,
fair.
Yeah, they could have like just gone to the back alley by the studio and like, I found some bones and a trash can lid. Like, cool, play that. We're 70% sure those bones aren't human, but like that would stop us. If I was gonna say one track in here was like definitely more on the metal side, it would definitely be Burn Into Light. There's some more, just again, like kind of more traditional metal riffs on there. There's even like kind of a lead on there that's, I don't know, it feels kind of Sabbathy just for a second before it goes into wherever it goes.
Yeah, it's a little sludgy. It's kind of got like a southern, almost like NOLA vibe to it.
There's even a doomy breakdown on it, but again, like non-traditional. Like it sounds like they're playing some very distorted, weird bass thing, but there's still a guitar on top of it. And even percussively, it doesn't always sound like they're playing a standard drum kit. In fact, rarely does it sound like they're playing a standard drum kit.
Except in the funky moments. Every time they really lay into a funky groove, it's definitely a standard drum kit. But I mean, it's usually tight closed hi-hat, kick, and snare. Outside of that, though, like as far as percussion is concerned, I mean, we're talking kettle drums and all the hand instruments you could think of that you just wouldn't typically think of.
Yeah, like maracas.
Yeah.
The interlude track, Bells for Kith and Kin, features bells, duh. But like every bell, like think of a bell, they use it. Small bells, medium-sized bells, big old bells.
It reminds me of the opening scene in Back to the Future, in the first one, where Marty gets into Doc Brown's house and he's going to play guitar, right? And then all of his clocks go off. Like 40, 50 clocks all go off. And that's what that is. It's just a ton of bells.
It sounded like a bunch of cyclists circling a large church. It was very haunting and weird. And haunting and weird is just sort of the thing on here. Like, just when you think you have this album figured out, it throws you for a weird loop. Like, We Must Know More. It's kind of like vaudeville-esque. It's essentially them talking about the last human being, I think, and they're saying it wants to be touched and looked at and smelled, and it only feeds at night. It doesn't sound like a pleasant thing, but it also sounds like a weird musical segment, like some just left on the cutting room floor scene at a Mary Poppins where they went down the wrong street and it was just a bunch of weirdos like, would you like to look at this thing? We wrote a song about it. And then it ate one of the children.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. It's like a late night infomercial where they're trying to sell you something, but they're all at a creepy sideshow carnival.
Yeah, a lot of this has like creepy sideshow carnival energy to it. It's like doing like a hefty dose of pick your hallucinogen and then having your friends just drop you off at the mall and they just leave you. Like you don't have any Sherpa up that mountain. You're like just sweaty and weird and walking around. Kids are running around screaming. There's a busted carousel that's just out of tune. It's kind of that.
That would suck.
Yeah. The other comparison I made in terms of like listening to this album, it's like having your brain massaged by a cheese grater. It just messes with you. But again, there's this odd allure of musicality and trying to understand what they're doing because like it's weird that this album feels so meticulously crafted, but also as though it was like improvised. Like they were kind of just doing weird jam sessions with whatever they had at the moment. And well, they're brilliant musicians. Like I can't undersell that. This band can play literally anything. They can play the Roach. They can play a piano log or whatever the hell it is. I don't know anyone that can do that.
I don't either. I don't even know what a piano log is or the Stro violin. What?
I just saw a picture of it.
Right. We looked up pictures of a lot of this crap, and I don't know.
It looked like a pirate's like blunderbuss, like the big flared out gun, except there was a violin on it. It looks as though it's just made up, but it's not. It's totally real. Now, while I really enjoy a lot of this, though, like it is oddly catchy. There are good rhythms to it. The vocals are really interesting, and just the song structure itself, it's unconventional, but at the same time, this band definitely knows how to write their own kind of clever hooks, and there's this odd narrative that definitely follows this. But sometimes it can get a little lost in the shuffle, and that's mainly in like more of the interlude tracks, because well, this band really doesn't need any extra atmosphere to be strange, but songs like Fanfare of the Last Human Being, it sounds like a NOLA funeral marching band.
Kind of.
And then they get really drunk, like you get the sliding trombones and the slinky bass, and it's, you know, like a minute-long interlude, and, you know, I mean, it kind of sets up El Evil a little bit, but not really. And then there's the last song, Rose-Colored Song, which starts off with, like creepy carousel music and kids' pianos.
But it's got creaking. It's like somebody walking across a really old wooden floor, like the wood's creaking.
It sounds like the music that would play if you were touring Gary Busey's house. Like, yeah, that would be playing, and then he would show you the basement where all the buttered sausages and the bodies. And that's how it ends.
I mean, that's probably actually pretty spot on.
Yeah, some of the additional bits on there, I mean, they're still impressive in terms of creating odd soundscapes, but in terms of like the musicality, like I was more impressed when they were able to, like, again, generate like an interesting, very unique hook and kind of write it out. And again, like the weird percussive polyrhythms they have. Yeah. Like it's very engaging, it's very musical, and honestly, I really just dig it. It's uniquely it. Like, I don't know how else to describe this band other than if you've heard Sleepytime Gorilla Museum, then you know it. If you haven't, check it out.
Right.
Sure, go for it. It's gonna be weird. So yeah, overall, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I mean, I like weird music, but sometimes like weird for the sake of weird doesn't do it for me. I don't feel like that is this. They're definitely weird, but they're weird with a weird purpose. Yeah. And again, like they're not so strange that they're going so far off the rails that they don't hide the fact that they are musically just insanely talented. The way they blend all of these instruments together is amazing, and when they really do generate some killer hooks, like they stick with you. Like Hush Hush, that song's amazing.
Yes, I love that song.
Burn Into Light, the kind of metal track, got some great riffs to it, and it's got its own unique charm. El Evil, it's weird, funky, off-time kind of Primus groove. The weird ranting vocals that are on The Gift. Like, there's just so much here to absorb, and I kind of just dig it all. If you're a fan of bands that play strange music, I don't know what to recommend to you. Like, if you were a fan of Mr. Bungle, you kind of got your foot in the door. Kinda.
Fair.
This is kind of the next level past that. So, yeah, this is incredibly strange, but also just really awesome. So, yeah, check it out.
I mean, I have to agree with Nick on pretty much everything. I mean, I've got some more crap to say, but it's definitely 4 stars for me. This is what happens if you take the red pill and the blue pill at the same time. It's really, really bizarre, but oddly catchy on so many levels. And part of the reason it's so catchy is because the instruments are not normal. Like, there's sounds that you wouldn't normally hear really anywhere except for this record. Like, what the hell is a nyckelharpa? I didn't know until we saw a picture. And even then, I still don't really know. But that's kind of the thing that builds the earworms. Is like, what the hell is that? And then you look it up and you're like, what the hell is that? When I got into metal initially, and although this isn't metal, when I got into metal initially, one of the things that drew me to it was the fact that I didn't readily understand it. Like, the first time I heard Meshuggah, I was like, what? But as time went on and my ears, got used to it, I started to understand it more. And this is kind of like that. Like, I don't know what to really openly compare this to. Like Nick said, kind of like Bungle, but way further down the rabbit hole.
Like, legit, if you asked AI to generate you the weirdest band possible, this band would still be weirder and also better because AI sucks.
And I've seen these guys live. I saw them back in the day. Actually, one of our buddies booked the show. And when I saw them live, they had like a human worm on stage, and it had like 15 parts in it, and they were
Those were the musical instruments.
They were all they were all running around the venue, and I was like, what in the hell is happening? And it's still like that. But there are many parts to this record, as strange as it is, are oddly cohesive in a really weird way. And I love all the funk in here. It's really cool. And I kind of knew it would be anyway because I've been a fan of this band for a while. It's really strange, but it's really awesome. And I would recommend giving it a go. Just check it out and figure it out for yourself. If we like it, there's got to be somebody else out there that does. In fact, 1,122 people. That's the number of people that crowdfunded this record. So there is a following. I'd recommend joining that following. This was a damn good time.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both new and old. The old t-shirts are discounted, provided we have your size. We also have hats, too, so if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
As always, a ton of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. I'm not actually going to bore you with the normal speech because right now it's 2:30 in the morning. One of the reasons, though, that we do album reviews much like this one is for you guys. It is a giant thank you. We couldn't do this without you. It's been 5 years on this channel. It's insane, but we appreciate all of you who have shown up and subscribed and talked to us and run into us at shows. It's fucking sweet. Album reviews, discography rankings, tons of stuff. We do it all here at Thralls of Metal. Thank you.
You guys absolutely rule, and I'm going to keep this extra short because the battery's running out. So, one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.